Hello, all. This is Randy Pischel with the Valentine Goose channel, named after Valentine, Nebraska, and Goose Creek, Colorado. Also known as Star Thinker. I'm here tonight. I'm really early for work, and I didn't want to start work yet. So I've been thinking a lot about all this stuff going around. So uh, there's been all this talk about who knows what and what knows where, and you know who Jack talked to and who Jack didn't talk to, and all this stuff, because people are still trying to find the spot where the chest was, because that still hasn't been solved other than by Jack apparently. And the thing is, it should. I was a poem purist back in the day, way back in the day. And I still think it can be solved with just the poem. And the way people are trying to solve it now, like by interviewing people and trying to catch slip ups and blah, 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 it's analogous to driving through a city. Normally, if you're on a highway, you can drive straight through the city, and you might run into a lot of traffic, a lot of bad drivers, traffic backups, accidents maybe, but it's going to be, packed, and then you come out the other side eventually. And that's like solving the poem. You got to do the hard work to solve the poem. The other way is like taking the bypass. You go out and around, there might be less traffic, it might move a little bit faster, and you're going to reach the same point in the end. The only thing is, it's twice as long, sometimes 3 times as long. So, which way do you go? And you may even end up there at the same time. So that's kind of crazy. But I was thinking about this. I was thinking about some of the solves that came forth. And the latest is Slow Creek. And I guess Icebox Canyon is up in that area. And I'm still a GPSer, Team GPS. And I just think, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember more than one source saying that Fenn said he was in Cody, and he left Cody and he hid the chest and he got back before Peggy noticed he was gone. So using that, now that came out before all this other stuff came out, because I remember hearing that way back when I started. But let's number crunch this. I did this morning, but I was like all greasy and dirty this morning because I don't shower on Sunday morning, and I couldn't make this video. So I'm here at work, and I'm like, I'm going to do all this number crunching, and so all morning long I was like playing with maps and numbers and stuff. So this is what I found. I'm looking up here. Here, let me pull this over so it's not so out of the way. There we go. So now I'm just going to look up. Okay, so number crunching. If the chest was in Slow Creek, I still think it's Slough Creek. It looks like Slough. Slow Creek, which is weird because it's a play on words. It's a homophone. It's slow. It's a slow creek. But I still think it's Slough Creek or Slough Creek, like you're sloughing around. But to drive from Cody to Slough Creek is 2 hours and 33 minutes. Now that's if conditions are perfect. Now I've been to Yellowstone, and I know that all it takes is a moose to come out and start chewing grass on the side of the road, and every car will stop, and you'll get backups in both directions. You'll have people on the shoulder so you can't get around. You'll have people everywhere, and you'll have to sit there and wait till the moose gets full and walks away. And it's really annoying. And damn COVID. And so, hoping he didn't do that. If it was a weekday, I know on weekdays it was a little bit different. It was a little bit better. There wasn't nearly as many people there. But ideal conditions, 2 hours and 33 minutes. And you make that a round trip, and that's 5 hours. Now, the average human being walks 3 miles an hour, but we're talking about an 80-year-old man. Now, I'm a 60-year-old man, but I have the body of an 80-year-old man, so I know how it feels. And I know, like, I buy kitty litter in 40-pound buckets. And I know just carrying that in from the car, I'm about dead. And, even if you cut that in half and you had 20 pounds, walking any distance with that other than in a backpack. Because, when I hiked in Colorado, my backpack easily weighed 40 pounds, probably 50 pounds. And that's different than trying to carry 40 pounds. It's different physics. So I don't know if he had a backpack or not. And again, let me say, this is my opinion. This is my research. This is just me talking. I forgot to put that at the beginning. That's my disclaimer. Also, spoilers ahead. I do talk about the movie. Anyway, that's 5 hours round trip driving. Now, let's assume that at some point he had to stop and go to the bathroom. Maybe he got in a little bit of traffic. Maybe one of the roads had a rock on it. In Colorado, that happened all the time. You'd come around a corner and the whole road would have this house-sized rock on it, and you'd be what do I do now? Anyway, 5 hours, and then the average human walks 3 miles an hour. So, and we're talking about 80-year-old man, so I'm going to go with that, because I used to think it was 4 miles an hour, and when I looked it up, it said 3 miles an hour, so I'm going to go with 3 miles because he was 80 years old. So if he walked a mile, that's where's my stuff up here? Well, if it was a mile from the parking spot, he would have to walk that 4 times because he made 2 trips. He'd have to walk out there, back to his car, and out there and back to his car. Now, 4 times would take over an hour. Be what is it? An hour and 25 minutes or something like that. I have 1 + 5 = 6. Oh, so yeah. So just over an hour. So if he had the 5 hours round trip driving time and then the 1 hour walking time, that's 6 hours. And if we pad that a little bit, if you account for traffic, if you account for maybe he stopped to eat, going to the bathroom, anything else that might have happened, I'm going to estimate 6 to 7 hours. Now let's say he left at 12:01, right after noon, because technically that's afternoon. So if he left at 12:01, that would bring him back home around 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., 6 to 7 hours. Now I had to think like Peggy would notice that. That's not just a few hours that he could have been sitting in the library or something. Peggy's going to be like, all right, who was she? What was she like? He's going to be like, no, it wasn't that. But yeah, like 7 hours. I don't know especially if you're on vacation and you're staying in a hotel or something, how would you, not be missed for 7 hours? And, that is a long time. It's even worse, and I hate to admit this, but it's even worse if you use the GPS coordinates. I work the GPS coordinates out to like 8 hours because it's a longer drive. You got the gate, you got to go through the main gate, all this other stuff. So it's like, it just doesn't seem right that he could be gone and come back and not be noticed missing. So either Peggy did notice him missing and say, hey, where were you for the last 6 hours? Or something. Now, it's possible she could have been getting a massage from Raul and didn't notice the time passing and fell asleep after drinking 2 bottles of wine. But I don't think that might have happened. But is that a reasonable time? I mean, and then I started thinking about what would be a reasonable time. And I come up with max maybe 4 hours. I think if, I want a woman as badly as anyone, but I think if I had someone in my life that I was married to and I was gone for more than 4 hours on a vacation, they would probably question or notice I was gone. I mean, I would hope they would notice I was gone. But 4 hours, maybe 5 is pushing it. So if you go, let's say 4 hours, you're looking at less than a 2 hour drive. That doesn't necessarily mean 120 miles, because in that area you can't drive 60 miles an hour. I know, like in the park, there's a speed limit. What is it, 35, 45, something like that. So it's like you can't go. It's not like 60 miles. That's how I always figure how fast I'm going. 60 miles an hour is 60 miles in 1 hour. But I think it would be way less than that. So that's what I'm thinking. If it's true he was in Cody and he left Cody, it would be less than a 2 hour drive from Cody, and even the 2.5 hour drive to Slow Creek, I still think that would take at least 2.5 ideal conditions. I still think that would take at least 3 hours. Like I said, you got traffic, you got people going under the speed limit, you got bathroom breaks. I just don't see it being under 3 hours and then 3 hours back. And when you think about 6 hours, 7 hours, that's a long enough time that you'd want to eat at some point in there. At least I would. Let's see. And carrying the 40 pounds of gold. How did Jack get it back? That's what I want to know. Because I know, like I said, when I carry a 40-pound bucket of kitty litter, it's a challenge for me. So did Jack have a backpack? I know when I was going to go boots on the ground, and it was found a week before my vacation. So I cut it that close. I was going to have my backpack with me because I know, like I said, when I hike, my backpack is probably half water bottles, and it easily weighed 40 pounds. So I knew I could put the chest in my backpack and carry it out. But if I had to carry it like the kitty litter box, that would be a very big challenge for me. And I just wonder how Jack carried it out. Did he ever say, was it up on his shoulder? Did he wrap it in something so people couldn't see what it was? I don't know those things. But yeah, and if it's a mile, less than a mile from the parking spot, that's a lot longer than me walking in from the road to the basement with a 40-pound bucket. But yeah, I these are things I wondered, and I haven't got an answer back from that. In fact, I asked him a couple questions. I just got an email. I went into Chasing Indy's live stream, and as soon as I opened the live stream, my phone dinged, and I looked, and it was a message from Jack. I thought, wow, that is a crazy coincidence. And all he said was, "Thanks, Randy," because of some of the other things I said. And it's like, no, I didn't get an answer to some of my questions, but that's okay. And I'm looking at my notes. I don't know if I told you that already. Yeah, the GPS, that would put you at 8 hours. I really don't think you can be gone 8 hours and not be missed. You'd have to come up with a good excuse. Oh yeah, I fell asleep and a buffalo carried me away. Something. So I was looking at a place I got written down here close by Trout Creek. I shouldn't write stuff down in the morning without being more detailed because I have no idea. Trout Creek, home of Brown, Wheels of Wonderment, try the wheel. I'm thinking there was a spot on the map that had both of those close by. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to touch upon was him. And I watched this interview like the fullest length I could. And there's a spot in there. It's at the interview that K-Pro did, where he just suddenly goes into, well, if you rent a cabin in the woods, are you renting just the cabin? Are you renting just the bed? Or do you get the land around the cabin? Do you get the barbecue pit? And every time I watch that, I'm like, that is so out of place. Why did he go off talking like that? And then I wondered if instead of a cabin, like maybe he was using cabin as an analogy, but maybe he just had a camping spot. Maybe he pulled into a camping spot, paid his, I don't know what it is in Yellowstone, an $8 fee or whatever for overnight camping, went and hid the chest, and then came back and drove home. And technically he had that spot rented. I just don't know. The other thing is, this is something I thought about this morning again. I think he visited the chest at least once after he hit it. And this is my reasoning for why he visited the chest at least once since he hit it. So, as I said in one of my other interviews, I think he was just not caring. He didn't care about government. He didn't care about regulations. He went out to Yellowstone. He hid the chest. And maybe later, a couple of years later, he talked to a lawyer, and the lawyer said, "Oh my God, you did not hide that in Yellowstone. You're in so much trouble. You're going to die." And so he talked to the lawyer. He said, "Well, then find me a loophole." And that was the loophole. Was the whole, "I found your property. Here it is." Because apparently Jack handed him the box, and then he handed it right back to him. It's like that was the loophole. So he had to figure out a way to let the finder know that that was the loophole. So I think he went back out there with a typed up message that says, "This is what you got to do," and he put it in the box, and there you go. So I do think he'd learned stuff along the way, and he had to change it, and he had to type up better. Well, I don't know if there was instructions in the box, because he always says if you find it, it's yours. But I think he had to type up more instructions to say, okay, this is how you get around getting in trouble in Yellowstone. Just say you found my stuff and you're taking it back to me, and blah, 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 blah. Something along that line. Whatever the loophole is for getting it out of Yellowstone. Yeah, I think that was the last thing I had. The other thing I had, and I just wrote this one word, canyons. And I was looking, because if you start with Warm Waters Halt, you're supposed to take it in the canyon down. Some of these areas I don't see as canyons, and I don't know if they're referred to as canyons. Some of them are flatlands, like up on top, like plateaus. Some of these areas just didn't look like canyons, or were, if I go through the map, they weren't referred to as canyons. And I know roads in Yellowstone follow the rivers mostly, and rivers go through canyons, but some of these, like there might have been a mountain range on one side, plains on the other, that's not a canyon. Or if it's a steep, lesser slope, it's considered a valley. There's just, I didn't see where somewhere Warm Waters Halt through a canyon to that final spot. So that's another one of the things I kind of look for. I know, like even the GPS coordinates, I don't really see anything around there. It just seems, I don't know, a loose definition of canyon. Although I did hear someone say, and this was new to me, was canyon down, like feather down, like a down pillow. You got a canyon down. It's a soft canyon. I don't know, but that was kind of interesting. It's always interesting when something new is presented to you, and I'm like, canyon down, huh? Like a canyon goose down feather pillow, But I don't know. Anyway, those are my thing, and those are some of the numbers I crunched. And I spent a lot of the morning until I fell asleep again, like trying to figure out what's 2 hours from Cody. And if you look at Cody, there's only like 5 roads that come out of Cody, so you don't have a lot of choice. I don't know. And it's hard to pick 2 hours because each road has different conditions and probably different traffic. And I'm not sure what day he hit it on. If it was a weekend, there'd be a ton more traffic. I know it was like night and day. I went through on a weekend. I went through Yellowstone. And I came back on a weekday, and like there was nobody there. I walked through the geysers. There's that little wooden trail through the geysers. No one was there. I found parking everywhere I went. I saw a moose, and there was no car stopped to take pictures. It's like it was a totally different night and day. And on Saturday, it seemed like I stopped for 2 hours because traffic just wouldn't move. They wouldn't get past this moose. And I think people started blowing their horns, and it scared the moose away finally. And I'm like, wow, let's get this moving. And it just took forever to get out of there. So yeah, there's different conditions that will dictate how long the drive is. And 2 hours from Cody, there were some directions that you probably wouldn't run into these things. So that's my thoughts on all this. I thought I would say that. I mean, like I said, I've been sitting on it since this morning, just thinking about it. And, I work nights, so I'm up all night Saturday night, and on Sunday morning, that's when I start to get tired again. Um, Anything else going on? Can't think of anything else going on. There's nothing going on with the hunt. COVID is all over the place. My family lives in Michigan. I guess in Michigan they're filling up the hospitals again. There's like a second. I don't know if this is the third or fourth wave going through. And there is COVID. My sister said that there was COVID in her house, but she didn't say who had it. There's 2 adults and 2 kids living there, so it could be any one of those. Who else had COVID? Oh, someone I know here, their baby got COVID. So they're isolating in their house and they're trying to take care of the baby. It's crazy. I think it's crazier now than it was before, and everyone's saying, "Oh, it's over, it's over, it's over," but it's getting worse. I have been vaccinated. I got the Johnson & Johnson one, so I'm all blood clotty, I guess, and I was blood clotty before, so it didn't make a difference. I didn't have any side effects whatsoever. I got the shot. They wanted you to sit there for 15 minutes, I think, and I sat there and I got up and left, and not a single side effect. Anyway, think about that. 2-hour drive. That would put you 4 hours and maybe an hour walking time, 5 hours. I would think that was pushing it. I would look more for like an hour, hour and a half. I don't know, unless Peggy did notice he was gone and he just said, "Bah, I was out hiding a chest." You wouldn't understand. So, anyway, I'm going to go and I'm going to post this. And I want y'all to have a good night. Stay safe, stay healthy, and take care.